Okay, so hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to break down my latest single, Can't You Just Let It Be? So I've got the project file open here. It's a bit of a mess, but we're going to go through everything one by one. So the first thing that I made when making this song was the chords. So I wanted a way to play them. So I created like a very basic serum patch. It sounds like this. Just a very basic saw wave with a low pass filter. And then I just like enabled the FL Studio ARP setting. So instead of like having static chords, I got this. And I think the thing that really made this work is that each chord has a different amount of notes. So you sometimes get very dense chords and sometimes very empty chords like here. So the rhythm constantly changes in the arpeggio, like. So yeah, this was the basic foundation of this song, and this arpeggio basically starts the song until the second verse. World is ending on the weekend. And there's my vocals. Most of these are demo vocals, and there's like another project just for recording everything. So that's what you're hearing now. And when I made it, I just bought an orchestral tools library called Whisper, which is like very softly played wind instruments. So I really wanted to incorporate that. So I took the flugelhorn and the flute, and I, with great passion, started drawing MIDI notes that made sense. So like here. Again, but what a shame. And this is like the first bit of an additional instrument that comes in. And most of the instruments come in once we get to the second verse right here. Run it back again. So this part has a lot of synths joining in. So you have this sort of lead synth. Also a very basic patch in Serum as well, a saw wave with a low pass. And we are FMing the noise, so you get this sort of vibrato effect. And of course some delay to make it sound really nice. So I thought that this blended really well with the main ARP synth. And then I just started adding additional stuff. So I added this synth, which is a preset from Analog Lab by Arturia. And I also recently bought a bass guitar, so I recorded me playing it. And it's a very basic progression. It's just constantly G, A, and B. Oh, sorry, E, G, and A. And it just blends so well with the synth. So I layered some recording of acoustic guitar on top. I think it has some delay. Yeah, some delay. It just gives it a more synthy nature, which blends really well with all of the other arpeggios that are floating around. And then I started layering some background stuff. So we have this pad sample, which was out of key, and then I used chroma to tune it, which is just fantastic. Just so good. And some like noise sample. I think it's also chromad. Yes. We love tonal noise. And I did the same thing to a ride sample. Let's look it. Here it is. So this was the original ride sound. And then with some very short delay, quite a lot of short delay actually, and then chroma, it just sounds great. So without that, it's just perfect. I really love that sound. And then there's the main drums in this part, which is a sampled breakbeat from FL Studio. So yeah, this is the original sample. And basically I just like took a kick and a snare that I liked and layered all of the hi-hat parts on top. And then like some snare rolls here and there. I also think that there was quite a bit of like effects on top of this loop. So let's hear it without any effects. Yeah, yeah, a lot of effects. So basically a lot of compression, which already gives it a much bigger sound. And then like a patcher thing that I built, which just slightly distorts stuff and also removes a bit of sustained. Let's see it. Yeah, so the filters are just darkening the sound a bit and some more compression. And this is probably where the distortion lies. And altogether you get this. And then some EQ. So that it doesn't sound way too heavy. I really liked this sort of lo-fi vibe that the song has. So a lot of low-pass filters and just like removing a bit of the highs really helped to blend everything together. And there were actually like a lot of different attempts at drums for this part. Like there was this version, which is just the FL drum breakbeat drums, and like some acoustic drums version. Eventually I didn't use any of these. And then for the second part, there's like a short break here. So to make it a bit more interesting, I also added like this flangy bird call sound. It comes from a synth with like flanger to 100% mix and like very intense feedback. And it's really nice touch. And then to add a bit more energy, I added a few more loops and sounds that I found that are very sparkly. And altogether, they just add a lot of energy to this pattern. And this is basically the start of the second verse. And then it switches up to a more trap beat, as you can see here. So this part is a remnant from the very original idea from the project. It was very synth heavy at first. I wonder if maybe I can find it. Yeah, so I just made like an Arturia patch in pigments of like a very super saw sound. This sound. And then I just added a lot of compression to make it very sustained and pad-like. And then it wasn't enough, so I also added a spectral gate, which has become one of my favorite effects recently. Basically, it just gates every part of the frequency spectrum separately. So you get like sort of a low pass underwater MP3 sort of sound, which I've been chasing for a long time. And this plugin is free. It's great. It's amazing. So let me show you the difference. compared to it's just so cool, and I really love this sound. So I really wanted to incorporate that in some way. So at first it was like, maybe I'll make it into a D&D part. And then there was a part where I was thinking maybe a sort of house track. But I kind of felt like it wasn't given enough energy, and it wasn't interesting enough. So instead, I went really hard with the sort of 808 bass. It's this sound. Basically, it's an 808 with noise, and then it's distorted a lot. So you get a lot more noise coming through. Yeah, like this. And together with these pads, it just sounds glorious. And they have like a low pass filter near the end of this section, so you get a very intense slowdown in energy, but the resonance goes up, so you get a very bass sound from these pads. Let me show you. This very intense peak that happens midway. It just sounds so cool. Let's see what else I put here. So we have this thing. Oh, this is a synth that I made in Pigment just for this part. It's sort of like a sequenced sound. So it just goes up in octaves, and it has like delay and stuff. As you can see, it moves a lot. And it makes a really nice sound in the background. It gives you some rhythm. There's some noise here. I really like how the noise contrasts like the lack of upper frequencies from the pad. It sort of tricks you into thinking, yeah, this isn't a low quality MP3 sound. It has high frequencies. No, it doesn't. Let's see what else. So we have the drums. We have like some stomp kicks that I recorded a few years ago. They sound like this. And then you have like your tiny kicks, which sound like this. Very synthesized. And you have like a very aggressive snare opposing them. And just sometimes the stomp collides. And it just gives a very nice rhythm with the bass synth. And of course, like some tiny fills that I chopped up, or some Foley sounds. So we have like these fills. And a bit of Foley. Probably another fill. Yeah, so the fills are adding a really nice touch. And I also recently discovered an instrument called sarangi via Splice Sounds. It's an instrument with like a lot of resonant strings, so it has a very sustained, beautiful sound. So I just had to incorporate as many as I could samples of this. So as you can see, there was a lot of chopping up with the beautiful crossfade option here. And Chroma also helped me keep all of the samples in key, which is great. And then there are some plucks of it in the next section as well. It just sounds beautiful. I really like it, and I'm so happy that I got to incorporate it into my song. So once this section ends, it sort of like goes from this trap beat into a low pass movement into a very calm section. Reminder, you can breathe. Can you just let it be? So as you can see, this section takes the exact same bass plane from before, which really sets this sort of deep tone for the whole part. I'm keeping the same synth from before as well. And I'm adding a few pads. These are also parts of the Orchestral Tools wind instruments I bought. They also do some sound design, which is nice. So you have like these pads. Which are really nice. And I mixed in a bit of flanging. Just to add a bit more movement. I think it's really nice when you hear it with headphones. There's also the same flangy bird sound. I really love this thing. And like some ambience of my friends. We're just speaking in the background, and there's like some chroma on top of that, because why not? We love tonal noise, it seems. And this section is pretty much, that's all there is. And then there's like a 2-bar chord that sort of leads us back into the pre-chorus. And this is where I wanted to go all out. So I switched, like, for example, this synth with a kalimba and guitar combination from Orchestral Tools. It's just a very small variation that I think adds a lot. We have also the sarangi chords. The pads are also like playing their highest notes at this part. So you can really feel like this is an intense moment. You also have a piano that's joining in. So we have like the bass and then a piano as well. And the bass note of the piano really adds like this sort of dramatic flair to it. And the arpeggio synth also comes back. Yeah, so you get this sort of effect. And there's vocals with a lot of processing that really carry this thing. So you have a bunch of layers. Let's find it. Let's just listen to the layers without any effects, just so we can hear how it sounds like. So we have this layer. And after all this time, and after all this time. So these are doubles. And then after all this time. And then there's like, I think this was retuned. And this one is like the most quiet of the bunch. So I added a lot of compression and some delay. I just wanted it to sound very, very intense. So you have like the dry signal at almost 100% wet, and another completely dry signal going into a 100% wet reverb, just to add this huge choir-like sound. And after all this time. And then once you pair this sort of sound with the piano and the bass just hitting you, it sounds very dramatic. And after all this time. And I couldn't resist. I needed to add more of the flute and flugelhorn that I bought. So I created a very meticulous pattern for them. It's this thing. We can listen and also see it in action. So yeah, let's see. Oh, so yeah, you can see how intense the pattern is. I wanted it to follow the chords, but also give like a nice melodic touch. So you get something like this. I also experimented with spectral compressors with this wind instrument sound because they were very, very quiet. So I wanted to add a bit more noise and high end to the recording. So you can also use a spectrum compressor, which is also free, and it can compress like the quietest parts, for example. So you get a much more breathy sound. Eventually, I opted out from using it. It just sounded too bright in the final mix. But then we get to the second pre-chorus, which is this part. So in this part, we're back to familiar territory. We have the pre-chorus that we heard here. Used to hold you, now it doesn't feel the same. Just an octave above, and the D and B drums are making a comeback. They also have this nice layer, and these layers as before. And I also added like a cello staccato playing the chords just to give more energy. And then there's the same vocals, but just an octave above. These are demo vocals, but yeah, you get the idea. There's also like this synth that sort of like completes the vocals. So like you finish the phrase and then on the last chord there's this bit. It's another preset from Analog Lab with the addition of this sound. It's not playing. It's somewhere here. Anyways, it's the brightness sound font from Porter Robinson Sad Machine, for example. It just added like a very nice high-end touch to this synth. And then there's like a very small sub bass drop. I like incorporating these. They always add a nice energy. So you just start like with a high note and then you do a gradual slide and then like a very intense short slide near the end. So you get something like this. And also I decided to add a bunch of macros to the serum patch of the arpeggio. Let's find its channel. It's at 20. So let's look at 20. So as you can see, I used a macro to just add a lot of things. It adds like a sub oscillator. It increases a sync of the main oscillator, the cutoff, reduces the resonance. Does a whole lot of filtering, adding delay, distortion, flanging, dimension, expanding, and compression. So you get like from this very innocent sound, it just builds in intensity. It almost sounds like a growl here. And it just adds the exact amount of intensity that this part requires. Especially as it's building into the chorus, which is the main part of the song. So you get like this build up and then a sub drop. And then it just continues in intensity until it reaches the chorus right here. So the chorus took me, I think, the longest time to get right. Like most of these parts I already had in mind, and then I had no idea what to do for the chorus. So I just sort of played with the chords of the pre-chorus. They're almost the same. The main difference is that it starts with a G instead of a C. So like in the pre-chorus, you'd start like this. And then you go. So here, since it's the chorus, I'm starting with G, which is like our tonic. So it sounds more of a safe start. So this piano part is like the main part of this chorus. It also has the main synth arp following it. Let me find a nicer spot. Yeah. And then I wanted to add a bit more of a noisy element, and I didn't want to just drown the mix with cymbals. So instead I just opted for a super saw pad. And as you can see, it has been sidechained and EQ'd just to fit like the parts that I felt were missing. And altogether, let's see how these three sound. So something like this. And then you have the bass 808 from the second verse. It sort of plays a little bit and slides here and there. It's just a lot of fun to make a monophonic bass synth and just let it play around. There's this sort of arp from every other part, basically. It just adds a really nice touch and rhythm. And like the main part that really helped glue the drums together were actually the acoustic guitar. So let's hear it. I have like a very dry take of my condenser mic. And then a more roomy and spacious take from my Zoom, which has stereo. And together you get this. And together with the piano and the bass, it just sounds great. I think there are also some guitar improvs here and there. Yeah, like here. They just add a nice touch and variation, since this chorus, as you can see, repeats quite a lot of times. Also, the bass bits also add a lot of variation, which is very necessary. And then when the chorus repeats the first time, I'm adding this sort of birdy, flangy synth sound. So let me play just a small part so we can hear them. They sort of remind me of Ramses B and like Timeless EP. And of course, I had to incorporate the flute and the flugelhorn again. They just sound so good together. Like, let me play it with the piano. So yeah, I'm just really happy with how they came out. And the hardest part for this section was actually the drums. I tried so many drum loops and drum patterns until I got it right. So I took samples from That Sound. They make great drum loops. And then I just added like my own hi-hats and resequenced them as I wanted to. So they sound like this. And I added my hi-hats and the snare that I wanted, so you get something like this. But the flanging is an artistic effect and it isn't in this part. So let me disable it. You can just see how much weight transient shaping and compressing really adds to this signal. It's just great in my opinion, and then you get something like this. And of course there are the occasional crashes and rides. And some occasional fills that I also borrowed from that sound. And here we have the cymbals and also like this loop that I also liked. Just adding a bit more energy to the second time the drums come around. And what really tied them together was the acoustic drums. It was the acoustic guitar. Like without it, it sounds like this. And with it, just the transients of the acoustic really complement the guitars, the drums so well, and I am really pleased with that. And in the vocal area, I think this is like the most harmonies I've done to a lead vocal, which I'm really proud of. So you start like with the main lead vocal. Going out for the sake of my friends. And there's like a lower harmony. Going out for the sake of my friends. And then you get two more harmonies. In the second part, the chorus repeats, so you get this one as well. I miss going out for the sake of my friend. I miss running wild, fill my lungs with the air. And altogether, they just complement the lead so well. So let me demonstrate. For the sake of my friends, I miss running wild, fill my lungs with the air. It's Saturday again and I'm lost in my head. Can we pretend? And I'm really pleased with the effects that I added to make them sound like backing vocals. So let's hear it without any effects. For the sake of my friends, I miss. So basically some compression, a flip EQ that removes the lows and the mids and increases the highs, some de-essing so that they don't get too out of control. Gem mod, which I really like, it's a Dimension D emulator. And basically it just makes it wider in a sort of flangy, chorusy way. It gives it a really nice alien touch. And then a very short delay. It's almost like a room reverb at this point. An EQ that also removes a bit of the lows. And Fresh Air, which is a great plugin. It just adds a lot of high frequencies. And altogether they blend really well with the main vocal. So let's see what else we have here. We also have like these tiny bits, and they are like improv vocals that I did, which I added a lot of effects into. Oh, here they are. So you can see they are quite stacked up. The main interesting parts are adding some distortion and a lot of resonators. So let's take a look. Let's add distortion. And then some flanging to make it extra alien-ish. And then a resonator, which resonates on the notes of the scale. It resonates on an E minor 7+9 chord, which is almost like a G major 7th chords. So it really complements the root, which is G major. Reverb. And with delay, you get something like this. which is really nice.
I miss going out for the sake of my friends. I miss running wild, fill my lungs with the air. It's sad.
So yeah, and then there are also just doublers and a choir-like effect for the lead vocal, which is just a lot of takes that aren't super auto-tuned.
I miss going out for the sake of my friends. I miss running wild.
I just like sat in the room and recorded them at different places, so you get like a sort of different sound. And then there's also like the pre-chorus that comes in the chorus, which is the pre-chorus vocals, basically. Okay, so my project is having a hard time dealing with that. But basically you have like the lead vocal of the pre-chorus.
I used to hold you now.
And then again, this sort of choir idea.
I used to hold you now. It doesn't feel the same.
And I had this idea of like singing something that reminds me of the chorus in between the pre-chorus. So you get something like this.
I used to hold you now. It doesn't feel the same. All my friends, so can.
And as for the start, for the ending of the chorus, we basically just stop playing the drums. We still keep the piano, the arpeggio, and the synth here, and we introduce a cello part. So let's hear it. So we also keep like this sort of backing chorus idea, and the cello has like a lead melody and a harmony. It just adds a really nice touch once you have like two voices in the cello. It makes it sound a bit more realistic. And once this ends, I'm only in the arpeggio, the piano, and a bit of the cello. And as for a final nice touch, I just played a very basic synth that plays the melody of the start of the song in the vocals, which is this part.
The world is ending on the weekend.
And a bass note in the piano just makes it dramatic and nice. Very ending-like. And that's pretty much it for this project. This isn't the entire song. As you can see, it was a bit messy. So I did vocals and other stuff in a different project. So I'm going to open it now and show you what I did there. Okay, so I've opened the second project, and this is basically the mixing project of the song. I exported the stems into logical pieces, and then I mixed them. But before I started mixing them, I took the liberty of actually recording vocals again and recording tiny things here again, adding automation and stuff like that. The original project just got so messy that I didn't have the option. It would just get stuck and it made no sense. So I did everything here. So let's take a look at a few of the additions that I added. So for example, I added to the first verse this guitar. And what I really like about this guitar is that I just did one take. I really liked it. And I also got lucky and got some birds in the background. So. And I really love this tiny part because it also comes right at the time of a chord that lasts 2 bars. Down again. Oh, what a shame. So I thought that was a really nice touch. I basically re-recorded most of the vocals, and I started adding a bunch of background vocals as well. So I also had like this idea. In this part, you have a synth that just plays this motif. And this is the Porter Robinson Sad Machine sound font doing the same thing. So I wanted to do backing vocals that sort of emulate this melody. And it happens at the second pre-chorus, so you get this more intense feeling, and then like the vocals, the backing vocals come in.
Oh, it doesn't feel the same, and I can't complain.
So these add a nice touch, and then near the end, I've added a backing vocal to the pre-chorus ending.
Oh, what a shame.
So there's this thing.
Oh, what a shame. I used to hold you, now it doesn't feel the same, and I can't complain. Fear of crashing down into the ground just makes it up in pain. Run it back again.
And then I also wanted to control the vocals that sing the parts from the chorus.
This isn't the end.
So I have a lot of things that help doing that. I'm controlling the gain, the panning, a volume of delay.
This isn't the end. I used to hold you, now it doesn't feel the same. So my friends still care, and I can't complain. This isn't the fear of.
And one more touch that I added to these vocals is another resonator. It's resonating at the exact same notes as before, the E minor 7 add 9 chord. And the resonator just introduces itself near the end, so you really hear it here.
Isn't the end. You're lost in your head. I miss all my friends.
I believe it just adds a nice metallic quality to the vocals and really sets them in the back compared to the lead dry vocal.
A gentle,
So you get this sort of sound.
reminder you can breathe. Can you just let it be?
And then other than that, you can see that most of the work here was automation, just automating the volume of things, like lowering the volume of everything when we leave the chorus.
The ground just makes it back again.
So it really sounds like a gradual release is happening. And we have like stands to reverb and delay for the vocals, and just some volume automation, EQ automation, that sort of thing. So exporting stems really helped me here, since even the stems are a lot. It's a big project, so it's a lot easier to manage once you group things together, and then like instead of having 10 effects here from the sound design part of the project, you only have what you need for mixing. And then at the end, it was mixing and mastering. So here's the mastering, and it just adds a lot of volume to it. And also a lot of brightness. That's why I didn't keep extra brightness in the flutes, for example. They were already very bright once you add the mastering chain. Let's hear them. They have enough like breath noise that I didn't need to add more. So that's pretty much it. That's how I made Can't You Just Let It Be. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.